Hello, and welcome to Take 10 with the Tennessee Tribune. And Happy New Year. Welcome to 2018. And we're starting the year the way we have for the last 5 years with State Representative Brenda Gilmore. And this is when we take time out to talk about what happened in the previous year and what we should look forward to in 2018, the next year.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
I can't believe it's already been 5 years.
I know, and thank you. Thanks for having enough trust in me and respect to invite me back for the 5th year. We have to do something to celebrate. That's an important milestone.
Yeah, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Well, let's get right to it because 2017 has been a very busy year, both for Tennessee and for our country. But I'd like to start with some issues that are also national issues but are affecting us locally. And one of them has to do with sexual harassment. And now in 2017 we saw many women on many different fronts coming out and talking about how they had been sexually harassed during their careers. Did that ever affect you as a state representative?
Well, of course it affects me if any woman or any child has been sexually harassed or molested. God forbid. I have not been personally harassed sexually. I have observed it happen to other people. I've heard stories of it happening to other people, and it's absolutely horrible. I think, though, out of anything bad, if we can get something good out of it, that's a positive thing. And what I suspect is going to happen is that more women are going to rise up. We're going to see more women running for public offices.
And you think here in Tennessee we'll see that?
Yes, I think that same trend I think will affect Tennessee too. And that we're seeing more people speaking up and finding their voices. Because people say, why did they wait 40 years? But sometimes when you're young and you're overly ambitious, and you feel threatened when your supervisor, you don't feel empowered to speak up. So I see nothing wrong with it. I think that we probably should consider legislation where that there would never be a time frame where anybody who wants to bring those charges forward, that it wouldn't be any barriers to that.
Oh, so rather than a cutoff time, go ahead and pursue those charges.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that you see that we can do to prevent sexual harassment in the workplace against women? Is there anything we should be looking at?
Well, I think even in the state of Tennessee that we need to strengthen the rules and the regulations and the laws. As you know, a person was expelled in the state of Tennessee from our Tennessee General Assembly. The House of Representatives, Representative Jeremy Durham was suspended just for that very fact.
Yes.
So, I suspect that it's not going to stop people until we really have strong laws where people feel like that there's going to be repercussions if they do that.
Okay. Also in 2017, we saw more discussion about removing symbols of the Confederacy, whether from public places to other places. And I know that you have now put forward legislation to remove the bust of Nathan Bedford Forrest from the State House to the Tennessee State Museum, which is expected to open this year in 2018.
Exactly. Well, and I want to be a team player. Although Nathan Bedford Forrest is not somebody that I admire. He was a Confederate soldier. He was able to go very high in the ranks. But I think we also, even though as Christians we forgive people, but we also have to recognize their past. And so that we won't make those same mistakes. And we have to acknowledge that he killed hundreds of slaves. And not necessarily slaves, but African Americans, when they even surrendered to them. It was just a massacre. And I think we also have to acknowledge that he was fighting to destroy the United States. So
it was treason.
Yes, exactly. You know, he would be considered as a traitor or as treason. But I want to be respectful to the other side. Those people who admire him and want to reverence him and to celebrate him. So my legislation basically says, let's just remove it from the state capitol. A state capitol should be welcoming to all people. And so as state legislators, we have to pass by that bus every single time we go into our chambers. And it's a constant reminder that our people were killed unnecessarily when they were fighting to make Tennessee and the United States stronger.
Right. Okay. All right, well, thank you for that update and what's behind that. And let's, one other issue I wanted to bring, which is more of a local issue, but also has affected our country greatly. Nashville General Hospital, which students from Meharry, one of the oldest medical schools for African Americans in the country, and more African Americans have become doctors because of Meharry. Nashville General is now slated to stop taking patients, intake patients, and just become, I guess, ambulatory emergency services.
Or outpatient service.
Outpatient service. So where does that stand now?
Well, I first of all want to commend Dr. Hildred in forging forward with a coalition in partnership with HCA. I think Meharry is an important institution that we need to protect. It provides a place locally where the interns and the docs can get the proper training. I was not aware until we began this discussion that a huge portion of those interns and docs have to actually go out of the state to get the training. So I'm very proud that that partnership has been kindled. At the same time, I see General Hospital though as a separate issue. And although I admire our mayor, I'm very proud to have a female mayor of Nashville, and I want to celebrate her as being the first female mayor. And a lot of initiatives she's passed that I've been very supportive of. And at the same time though, I think as a leader, whether you're elected or you're just a community leader or an activist, I feel a tremendous amount of responsibility to speak up for those individuals who I feel can't speak for themselves. And that's the indigent and our seniors. And and it's just a huge decision to make to close the inpatient when we don't have a plan. And I have not seen a plan. What are we going to do with people who don't have the transportation? Don't have the funds.
Still an issue, yes.
It is. And one other thing that's kind of a hidden issue that I'm not sure everybody recognizes is when you don't have insurance and when you don't have the funds, when you go to emergency rooms, and most of the time that's the only recourse or option people have when they don't have insurance, you don't get treated in a very dignified way. In a very humane way.
You're at the bottom of
Yes. The waiting time is extremely long, unreasonably, and most of the time you are kind of patched up or fixed up for that moment and kind of shoved back down. And in General Hospital, they actually look at it long term and treating the holistic person. I mean, if you go in and your blood pressure's up, they may discover that you are diabetic or
something else is going on.
Yes, and they make their goal is to treat that. And I feel like that with our for-profit hospitals, which we have some amazing for-profit, one of the Vanderbilt is one of them, and I worked there for 20 years. They were very generous to me, and I appreciate them. They're known nationwide, but at the same time, as I say, I feel like a responsibility sits on my shoulder to speak up and to hold our mayor and our Metro Council accountable. Yes, absolutely. So I don't want to see that inpatient service go away.
Yes, I think there are quite a few people who are with you on that. Well, let's talk about some of the other issues. We'll be talking about those as 2018 goes further on. But we now have a whole year where President Trump has been in office, and there's been lots of discussion, lots of things going on, and the latest is the budget and the tax bill that's going forward. So let's talk a little bit about how that's going to affect us here
Yes,
in Nashville.
Absolutely. In fact, I just heard as I was driving over here that our own Senator Corker is now going to support the tax bill.
Okay.
And my concern is that it's basically a tax cut to help corporations with that same philosophy that has been put forth by our colleagues across the aisle, is the trickle-down effect, and it just does not work.
Right.
And when we expect the huge companies and the corporations, because they're getting this tax cut, their employees, in most instances, it just does not happen.
Wow.
It just does not happen.
Right.
And so I am not in favor of it. One of the things that I'm most concerned about is its impact on education, higher education, working class parents who send their children to school on Pell Grants, or even if they get scholarships. With the tax cut, if you got a scholarship, those funds would be considered as income,
Right.
and would be taxable.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to hurt a lot of families.
That's right, exactly.
And prevent more students from not being able to get a higher education.
Exactly.
Okay.
And also, in addition, to make up for some of the funds that's needed for the large companies and the corporation, they're looking at reducing Medicare benefit, Medicaid
And
benefits.
Social Security.
Yes, and even welfare.
Yeah.
And in the state of Tennessee, I mean, it's just very minimum what we give people now. Yeah.
Just enough to get by.
Exactly.
And barely enough to get by.
Exactly. hmm
Okay.
So I don't want to see this tax program that's being put forth by majority Republicans in Congress approved, but it looks like it's on track to be approved.
And what the statistic that I heard as I was coming in today was that only 30% of the electorate really support this, which is very low
Exactly.
for legislation to go forward and become the new law of the country.
Yes, yes.
And the people who are supporting it are the donors who would like to have a tax break for themselves, but those on the bottom end are not going to get that same tax break.
Exactly. And also in that tax cut program or bill or legislation, buried in there is to do away with the mandate for the affordable health care.
Oh, they bear.
Yes, yes, yes.
They keep trying.
Yes, yes. And so when people don't feel like that there's going to be some repercussions if they don't take the insurance, we probably will see less people actually accepting it. Now, President Trump shortened the time that enrollment for the affordable health care, and he reduced it to 45 days.
Right.
But this time, we've had more people sign up than when it was for 3 months.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
so people want it. They need it and they want it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And what else did you see? You've got a list here, cuts to transportation and infrastructure.
Yes, yes. And you know,
here.
of course, that's a big issue in Nashville. We're
Yes.
moving toward a transit plan, which I do support 100%.
The local transit plan, yes.
Yes, because I think anybody that gets stuck in today's traffic will recognize that we
Yes.
need to do something. And in Nashville, we have 100 people that move in the city every single day.
Right.
So we have to address that. When that infrastructure and transportation funds are cut, that's going to have an impact on Nashville in terms of providing more resources for us to do that. There's going to be cut to the Justice Department, and we know that that's going to affect women, African American, Hispanics in a negative way. Sometimes that's our only recourse when we feel like that we have not been treated in an equitable manner. There's cut to the weatherization program. This has been a tremendous help to seniors and for working class and poor people to get their homes repaired and to also get them more energy efficient appliances and windows and doors. So without that, their electrical bills will be skyrocketed.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There's
So
cuts
it's
to the environment.
Oh, really?
And as you probably are aware, when we talk about landfills and industry type of businesses, they're usually located in disadvantaged communities and African American communities.
Unfortunately.
Even in Nashville, we've had to fight landfills for years and years and years. So that will have an impact.
Okay. Well, we better all pay more attention to what's going to happen and figure out ways that we can continue to have good, healthy lives here in Nashville.
Exactly, and contact our senators and let them know that we are not in favor of the budget and the tax bill that's being put forth.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's take another look now at bills that passed here in Tennessee and what we should know about them.
Oh, okay. Well, we
that.
did. We call ourselves the Fighting 25, and I know that this is nonpartisan, and I'll try to keep it as nonpartisan as I can. But there were some bills that I think that were very positive, and it's going to do a lot in terms of improving the quality of life of Tennesseans. And one of them was sponsored by Representative Dwayne Thompson from Memphis, and it helps ex-offenders. Once they get out, you actually get a piece of paper that says a certificate of eligibility to help you when you go and apply for a job.
Okay.
Tennessee, we put a lot of people in prison, even from non-violent type of crimes, and we should figure out a way to rehabilitate these people and to punish them, certainly, but not to put them in prison. It costs probably, I would say, anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 a year.
Oh wow, to have someone incarcerated instead of working,
Exactly.
contributing to the economy.
Exactly, and we could be using those funds for education,
Exactly.
which we only
need.
Yes, and which we only give about $9,000 or $10,000 a year to educate a child here in Tennessee. So, which we need. There was another bill passed by Representative Joe Pitts out of Clarksville.
Yes.
This provides, it kind of gives people who have served our country, and we honor them, veterans, it gives them preference when they go and apply for a job, so they would get extra points.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so, and then you probably are aware across the country there's been a number of young people that have died on amusement rides.
Yes. Every now and then a story will pop up about that.
Yes. So Representative DeBerry from West Tennessee had a bill tightening up the restrictions for amusement parks and amusement rides.
Oh, good.
And then Representative Agberry from West Tennessee, and I was a co-sponsor of this, it actually reduced the fees for expungement from $350 to $180.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So what was the thinking behind that?
Well, 90% of the people who come been incarcerated are going to come back and be in our community. So we want it to be easier for them when they get out of prison to get their records expunged. One is so they can be able to vote, and then the other is to be able to work and have meaningful employment. Because if not, some of them will just fall back into that life of crime. I think it's just a natural instinct that we want to take care of ourselves and our families. So this makes it easier. And then there was a bill sponsored by Representative Antonio Parkinson, also from West Tennessee, where it would allow school counselors to refer young people for a mental health analysis if they make that observation. And the past 2 years I had the honor of serving as president of the Tennessee Black Caucus. We had a hearing on incarceration and the impact it would have on our community. And one of the things that was really resonated with me is one of our presenters said that 70% of the juveniles who are in facilities, prison facilities and juvenile facilities, 70% of them have mental issues or emotional issues. So if we can figure out how to treat the child, our young people on the front end, it may prevent them.
And where they're being incarcerated and just recycled through the system.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they can have productive lives.
Yes, exactly. And then one that I'm very proud of was, you've heard the term Bandabox?
Yes.
Okay, well I sponsored that bill, which makes it easier for people who have been in prison, and they're back, and once they've paid their dues to society, paid all court costs, when they go apply for a job, then the employer or the person who's interviewing them can no longer say, have you ever been to prison?
Right, and it's no longer a question on an application
That's right.
form.
On which sometimes people actually lie about it.
Right.
So, and although they have the skills and they're qualified, once the employer find out that you lied on it, then of course you still get terminated, or you don't. So you still can do all the background checks once you're serious about hiring somebody, but at least it allows somebody to get their foot in the door. And those states who have passed similar legislation, we've seen the number of applications just go up significantly.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Very good.
So,
Well, hopefully we'll see that here in Tennessee as well.
exactly. So those were some of the positive bills that passed. There were also some dangerous bills that passed that I wanted to share with you that I suspect that we're going to see again in 2018.
Oh, really?
And one of them is the Open Freedom Firearms Act. And this is a bill where you can go anywhere and you would have your gun on your hip, or you would have it up here on your breast and just out in open.
Just an open, so you could go into church, you could go into a state office building.
College campus.
College campus.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Can you imagine our students
No, I don't want to.
having a gun permit and walking around campus like that, and how intimidating that could be.
Right, especially if they don't like their grade.
Exactly. And how dangerous it could be. Because if young people or even adults use alcohol, sometimes they don't feel,
they're not as in control.
Yes. And so, then you enter firearms into it, things can turn out pretty bad real
We
fast.
better look out for that one.
Yes.
What else should we be aware of?
There was a bill that prohibited abortions from the time of a fetal or a heartbeat. And I know with us being in the Bible Belt, that sometimes even my community is not in favor of abortion, and I wish we didn't have to have abortions. But I believe that every woman should be able to consult their husband or significant other, and maybe even their pastor and their doctor, but they should have the right to make that decision. And my fear is also that if we prohibit people from having abortions, they will push people back into the alleys like they used to do years ago. And we'll find that death among poor people, working class people, and people in our community will just go up. And more affluent women would just fly to states where abortions are legal.
And I guess 2018 is the 45th anniversary of when the Supreme Court approved this legislation. So, approved the law. So it was 1973.
Exactly. There was a bill regarding school vouchers, and most educators do not approve of that. I think that the court is still out regarding charter schools. There probably are some good charter schools, but vouchers are most of the time used for private schools and used for religious schools. And as taxpayers, I'm not sure there's a real appreciation for using taxpayer funds to go to a private school. And even the amount, which was $5,000, is not high enough actually to help, I think, our constituents, because still there would be a transportation issue. Most private schools, the tuition is more than $5,000 a year.
A lot more in many cases.
So we would find that this would still not help working class people.
But it would take away from the public schools.
Exactly. It would drain funds from public schools. There was a bill we saw in Virginia where a lady was protesting and a car ran over her and killed her. We had that's what is known by model legislation from an organization known as ALEC. And there was a bill actually put forth in Tennessee. It failed in committee, thank God. But basically what it would say is it would give you immunity if you hit somebody if they were protesting and if they were in the right of way.
That doesn't even seem like it's legal.
It doesn't make sense at all then.
When you look at the Constitution.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, again, thank God.
That's a little
but-
scary.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there was a bill that was put forth that required that marriage, Tennessee marriage, legally has to be between a male and a female.
Okay.
And, you know, we are a welcoming state, and I feel like that we should not be in people's bedrooms, you know. If you want to marry whoever you love.
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe the law of the land allows you to marry whoever you love.
Yes. And Tennessee should be no different.
Right.
There was also a bill that was put forth regarding the bathroom bill, which says that if you're born a female, you gotta always go in a girl's bathroom.
Okay.
And if you're born a male, you always go in a boys or male's bathroom. And we've always had unisex bathrooms, and there's never been an issue, so I don't know why we're making a big issue of this now. Also, in states that have adopted similar type of legislation, it's had a tremendous impact on the economic welfare of those states. And we've seen that major conventions and conferences have just pulled
out
out
of the state.
Mhm.
Yes.
And guess what? When we don't have those that revenue and the taxes when conferences come,
Right.
you know who ends up paying more?
Right.
The citizens of Tennessee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So-
Not only is it not right,
Mhm.
but it also impacts us financially as
Right.
well. And one more that I just have to tell you about this one, because this one
Okay.
is so crazy.
Okay.
There was a bill that was put forth that says if you married,
Okay.
and that if you get pregnant as a result of artificial insemination, that your child would be considered illegitimate.
Really? Okay.
Now, how crazy is that?
That's
Even if
very
you ma-
different. If you're married and you're trying to have a child.
That's
which
right.
many couples, I mean, this has been going on now for decades. So.
So you're punishing the
Yeah,
parents.
Right.
of
And the
mo-
child.
And the child.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll be on the lookout for those. I'd like to thank you. And also in 2018, State Representative Gilmore,
Yes.
you are have a campaign to now run for the Tennessee Senate.
Exactly.
And-
And I'm excited about that.
Okay.
In this city, I've been a Metro Council woman for 8 years. I'm exactly in my 10th year and being in the Tennessee House of Representatives.
Right.
And I've always tried to be accessible, and my campaign theme and what I'm very passionate about is I am for the people. And I want to take that same passion, enthusiasm, and the energy that I've been blessed with and take it to the Senate. Being in the Senate, there's 33 members. I think it will give me more of an opportunity to make a positive change, not only in my community in Nashville, but the state of Tennessee. So I hope that people will look at my record, my track record, know that they can trust me, know that I'm a strong leader, that I know when to fight, and I know when to unite, and that they will vote for me. That election is August 2nd, 2018.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you again for joining us for our 5th anniversary. And thank you for joining Take 10 with the Tennessee Tribune. And I will see you the next time.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Yeah.